To embark on our first trip together, I visited the airport with my wife, Lily. But we soon found ourselves surrounded by a group of 5 thugs. "Look at the pretty lady, haha, scram, old man," they jeered. The men, with their arms crossed and fists showing, tried to separate me from Lily. But then, out of the blue, Lily burst into laughter. "Do you really think you can mess with this guy? You're way out of your league. Can you call your boss?" "Huh?" When the boss called Tyler, saw Lily's face, he started trembling as if all the blood had drained from his body. "My name is David. I'm 33 years old. I stand at about 6 feet, a well-built man with muscles what you'd call a lean, muscular type. The reason my body is so well trained is probably because I used to work as a bodyguard. It seems I was involved in protecting politicians and famous people both domestically and internationally. However, during a trip to a remote area with a client, I sustained a severe injury while protecting them. The reason what all my age and background details seem speculative is that I lost my memory and my right hand in that incident. My oldest memory is of looking up from my hospital bed. The white ceiling and the white bandage wrapped around me. With nothing else to rely on, Lily, my girlfriend at the time, was my only salvation. She forgave me, even though I couldn't remember her face, despite our engagement. During my hospital stay, her constant presence from morning till night, her brightness and sincerity, saved me in so many ways. "You being alive is enough for me. Let's make lots of memories together," she said. As soon as I was discharged, Lily and I got married. I quit my bodyguard job and received a severance package and insurance payout, and with Lily's income as a nurse, we had enough to live on. However, not being one to laze around, I started looking for work. Finding a job that would hire someone like me, with a missing hand and lost memories, was tough, but eventually, I landed an office job at a delivery company. My daily pleasure at work is visiting various eateries near my workplace for lunch. That day, I was eating at a Chinese restaurant I'd recently taken a liking to, sitting at the counter. "Is this seat taken?" asked a man. Probably about 10 years younger than me. A man with a soft smile pointed to the seat next to mine. I noticed that the restaurant was crowded at lunchtime, and sharing a seat was unavoidable. "Sure, go ahead," I replied. The man quickly ordered his meal and started chatting with me. "This is a great place, isn't it? You come here often, right?" "I do too," he said. "Yes," I give a vague reply, and the man gives a soft smile. "Sorry for the sudden chat. I'm Steve. I just noticed you looked a bit tired," he explained. "Tired? Yes. You seem really worn out. Why don't you come to my massage clinic?" Is this man a massage therapist? Maybe he thought he could sell his business to me, a laborer who happened to see me. When I didn't immediately respond, Steve forcefully placed his business card in my left hand. I tried to pull away, but he was surprisingly strong for a massage therapist. "The address and map are on the back. Please feel free to drop by. It'll relax both your body and mind." I figured there was no harm in taking the card. I could always throw it away. Steve seemed to read my mind and smiled. "I'll be here again tomorrow, so I can show you the way," he said. Sure." I quickly finished my meal and got up to pay. "See you again, David," he said. I nodded and left the restaurant. But on my way back to the office, something struck me. Did I tell that guy my name? That night, when I got home and told Lily about Steve, she advised me to throw away his business card. "He sounds like a weirdo. It's better not to get involved. Maybe you should eat lunch somewhere else too." Indeed, Lily was right. Being led to an unknown place by a stranger must have made me look quite naive. But it'll be awkward the next time I see him. I'm not good at lying. It's hard to say I don't drink. Just don't meet him. He doesn't know where we live, after all. Lily's words made me pause. Now that I think about it, he did seem to know my name. What? That's creepy. Could he be your stalker? No one stalks a guy in his 30s. I laughed it off, but Lily was serious in trying to convince me. I have a bad feeling about this. It's weird that he knows you go to that restaurant every day. If you see him again, call the police right away. Lily often has sharp intuition, and her hunches are usually right. Following her advice, the next day I went in the opposite direction to try out new places. I realized for the first time that I enjoy exploring unfamiliar spots, the excitement of entering a new restaurant. While waiting at the pedestrian crossing on my way back to work, thinking about exploring more new places, it happened. Whoa! Suddenly, someone pushed me from behind, and I stumbled into the road. I managed to scramble back onto the sidewalk, narrowly missed by a large truck. I sat there even after the light turned green. My chest makes a loud thumping noise and my legs won't stop shaking. It seems that someone is trying to kill me. Though it sounded ridiculous, the suspicion quickly turned into certainty. After that, I had several close calls, someone body slamming me on a train platform, nearly being pushed down the stairs. And the worst was when a car crashed into our house. Luckily, Lily and I weren't home, but the minivan smashed our front door. It was a stolen vehicle, and the driver was never found. Fearing for Lily's safety, I reported it to the police. Increased patrols stopped the strange incidents, but Lily remained vigilant. Let's go on a trip and get away from this house. It'll be a nice change of pace for you, David. A trip sounds good, but I have work. I began to reply, but then realized something. Lily was also worried about my workplace. The first encounter with Steve was near there, so it wasn't a far-fetched concern. I'll quit my current job and look for something else. Then let's refresh ourselves before you start a new job. I'll take a long break. Lily suggested the Philippines for our trip. We had planned our honeymoon in the Philippines, but it was canceled due to my unstable condition after the hospital. Let's go to the Philippines. It's a belated honeymoon. Lily's face lit up as she happily started preparing travel clothes and guidebooks. Her excitement made me look forward to the trip too. On the day of our trip, we waited in the airport lobby for our boarding time. We're staying for 2 weeks. We rented a house, so let's relax. The flight wasn't my first, but it felt like it since I lost my memory. Lily, noticing my nervousness, got up lightly. I'll go buy some drinks. Just wait here, David. Because of Lily, I can keep living, even without my right hand and memory. I washed her small back with gratitude as she walked away. Lily, holding 2 drinks, was walking towards me with a smile. But then, out of nowhere, a group of unknown men surrounded her. I instinctively ran to Lily, shielding her small frame with my back. There were 5 of them, circling both me and Lily. The leader seemed to be the guy in sunglasses standing in the center, probably the most skilled in combat. But it was okay. I was confident I could subdue them in an instant. After calmly finishing my assessment and decision, I was puzzled by the certainty that welled up inside me. Why was I so confident in my judgment? The men didn't seem fazed by my appearance, instead approaching with smirks. The guy in sunglasses, standing in the middle, taunted me. Nice-looking wife, huh? Scram, old man. No. That's when I realized I recognized the man in front of me. Despite his thug-like appearance with sunglasses and a flashy open-collar shirt, this guy was definitely. Weren't you the guy from the Chinese restaurant? Your name was Steve, wasn't it? I hate smart guys. Steve, I might have used that name. Steve burst into exaggerated laughter, then suddenly glared at me. Just buzz off. My buddies will take care of you. His buddies were probably his subordinates. They tried to separate me and Lily, arms crossed and fists showing. But then, Lily suddenly burst into laughter. Do you really think you can do anything to him? It's not even worth discussing. Can you call your boss? Huh? Steve looked dumbfounded at Lily, but as he realized he was being mocked, he quickly became furious. Playing nice and you get cocky. Hey you guys, change of plan. Take down the old man in front of his uppity wife. I was the first to move, not Steve's buddies. Before the four men could prepare, I quickly pushed the one on the left, throwing off his balance. Caught off guard, he stumbled into his companions and fell, while the man on the opposite end swung his arm at me. I calmly dodged and stepped back, watching him flail and topple to the ground. My senses were sharpened to the extreme, every movement around me feeling like slow motion. Predicting their next move and deciding my response. It was like a scene from a movie, as I subdued the four men without even laying a hand on them. You're the only one left. This plan was your own doing, wasn't it? No way. You're supposed to have lost your memory. Steve looked around helplessly at his fallen comrades, completely useless. Lily sighed deeply at the pitiful sight of Steve. A small fry like you isn't even worth discussing. Can you hurry up and call Tyler? But call him. Intimidated by Lily's commanding voice, Steve jumped to call on his phone. Soon, a large man appeared, probably around our parents' age, with an air of dignity and calm. So, you've become bold enough to summon me, huh? It's an emergency, Tyler. It's about Lily. Lily? Why did they know Lily's name? I was puzzled, but then Tyler's expression caught me off guard, and my small doubt was blown away. Upon seeing Lily, Tyler's face turned pale and he began to tremble violently. Then he furiously scolded Steve. You, what have you done to Miss Lily? I was doing this for Lily's sake. Shut up, Miss Lily. My men have been terribly rude to you. The man began to bow repeatedly to Lily. The quality has really dropped, hasn't it? To think such a man is your subordinate. I have no words to return. Please, feel free to deal with these men as you wish. It appeared that Lily knew Tyler. I was still clueless about what was going on, and Lily looked at me with a troubled expression. I'm sorry. We have to cancel our trip. Let's go home and talk. I agreed to cancel. Even if we went to the Philippines, I wouldn't be able to enjoy it, wondering about Steve and his gang. Surprisingly, Lily also brought Steve back to our house. I wondered why she would bring a man who attacked us into our home, but decided to first listen to her explanation. So, where shall we start? Lily prepared coffee for us and took a sip herself. Why did my body move on its own? And why did you, who gave me the massage clinic's card, send thugs to attack us? Explain it to me in a way I can understand. Steve seemed to have made up his mind on our way here. Returning to his gentle but assertive demeanor, he shrugged his shoulders. Let's start with your story, David. You were my superior officer. Superior officer? Was it during the time I worked as a bodyguard? As I questioned, Steve looked at me with pity. Did Lily tell you that you used to be a bodyguard? Yes, but first, you were not a bodyguard. You and I were both in the same Special Forces unit. You were a very strict and serious officer. I was baffled by this unexpected revelation. Wait, does that mean Lily lied to me? Lily didn't deny my question. So, what Steve was saying must be true. Our unit undertook some very special missions. We infiltrated countries we don't have had diplomatic relations with, participated in suppressing civil wars, tasks that would never make it to the news here, and our last order was to guard a VIP visiting a certain country. Steve, back to his casual tone, smirked at Lily and said, so, the bodyguard story wasn't entirely false, and gulped down lukewarm coffee. As it turned out, we got involved in a mess there, but thanks to your efforts, the situation was successfully contained. Thanks, I guess. Steve smirked, clearly not intending to praise me. Then his next words hit me like a shockwave. You single-handedly wiped out the guerrillas surrounding our building, protecting the VIP at the same time. That's not a human feat, even for a superior officer of mine. Everyone there, women, child soldiers, all 108 of them, you took them all down. 108. I couldn't hide my dismay at the excessively high number of casualties. Hearing this unexpected past, I looked at Lily. But she just kept her head down, showing no sign of denying Steve's words. But even you weren't unscathed. When we found you, it was a terrible sight. Your right wrist was gone, and you had multiple bruises and injuries all over, barely breathing. Honestly, everyone thought you were done for, that you wouldn't make it, except for Lily here. What? I stared at Lily in surprise. The suspicion that she was somehow involved in my past was evident on my face. Amused by my shock, Steve continued with a grin. The VIP you protected was Lily's father. He naively trusted the enemy's words and walked right into a dangerous negotiation. In other words, because of Lily's father, you lost your right hand and your memory. The past Steve described was completely unfamiliar to me. I just silently stared at the end of my right wrist. But Lily's father unfortunately met with a mishap on his way back home. There were rumors that it was your fault for not providing proper security. However, Lily wouldn't hear of it. She was determined to save you. Lily saved me. I was then brought back to the country under heavy security. But having seen the dark underbelly of various nations as part of the special forces, it wasn't easy to just return to civilian life. Perhaps it was lucky that you lost your memory. Instead of letting you live as a civilian, Lily was assigned to be your guardian. No, Lily was my fiancée. Fiancée. Steve burst into laughter as if he had heard a funny joke. Who told you that? Lily, right. She wouldn't tell the truth to someone she's deceiving. The woman you were told was your fiancée was actually watching over you. Is that so? I desperately wanted to see Lily's face, so I looked at her. But Lily just kept looking down, not moving an inch as if enduring something. But it's too much that you, who followed orders, received such treatment. How much was your severance pay as a so-called bodyguard? You should have received a substantial compensation. Instead, you're stuck doing some lousy part-time job. It's a betrayal to our Special Forces unit. Steve, perhaps excited, slammed his hand on the table. The finished coffee cups rattled softly. That's why I came back for you, to help you regain your memory. I wanted my respected superior officer, a real tough guy, to come back. You must want to regain your past memories too. What about the commotion at the airport? Why did you target me? Steve suddenly softened his approach, giving me a flattering smile. My apologies for earlier. Lily seemed unwilling to let go of her toy, you. So I tried to force you and Lily apart. My memory. Should I try to regain my memory? Sensing my hesitation, Steve deepened his smile. Come on, regain your memory and rejoin the unit with me. Oh, that's different from the facts I know. Lily interjected with an indifferent face. You just wanted to cover up your own failure, didn't you? What? No way, that's impossible. Steve denied, shaking his head, but his demeanor was clearly off. Ignoring the flustered Steve, Lily turned to me with a warm smile. Most of what Steve said is true, but there's one big difference. It turns out, the whole thing started because Steve sold our information to the enemy. When I discovered this scene, Steve desperately made excuses. He claimed he was spying on the other side by pretending to sell information to them. Steve, as proof of his loyalty, arranged a negotiation with the guerrillas, taking the VIP and me to meet the guerrilla leader. However, in reality, Steve had turned informant for the enemy and left me and Lily's father alone in the midst of the enemy. Left behind, I single-handedly faced 108 people and was later found, having lost my right hand and memory. After finishing her story, Lily finally turned her gaze back to Steve. Any excuses? So what? What's wrong with my actions? Cornered, Steve unexpectedly became defiant. Everyone values their own life. I just worked hard to gain status, honor, and wealth. So, you admit to my story. Contrasting with Steve's red-faced ranting, Lily sat quietly on the sofa. Triumphant, Steve pointed at Lily unapologetically and declared, "Yes, I did it all, but so what? A superior officer who lost his memory, and a woman completely charmed by such a man. No one will believe the fanciful tales of people like you." "Maybe you're right." Finally admitting your powerlessness, he boasted proudly. That's when Steve twisted his head in confusion and rummaged through his jacket pocket. He pulled out phone, buzzing with an incoming message. A message from the boss. What? Why am I the target of punishment? Thank you for explaining everything yourself. Contrasting with the flustered Steve, Lily calmly sipped her coffee. Impossible, it was you. If it was such a good plan, I thought I should share it with the boss too. You were on the phone. Steve, with eyes wide open, shouted, and Lily smiled sweetly, showing her cell phone. This screen was in a call state, displaying the name Tyler prominently. In other words, Steve's plan to deceive the special forces using me had been fully exposed to Tyler. From the beginning, I had Tyler listen to everything. I'm sure he was deeply moved by your passion for the special forces. Steve tried to flee immediately, but before he could, several men entered from the entrance. Their imposing stature moved silently, their abilities far surpassing the thugs I had seen at the airport. Recognizing Tyler's face among the men who appeared last, Steve slumped in resignation. Prepare your excuses. I'll deny everything. Yes. Defeated, Steve was escorted away by the men flanking him on either side. Once they were out of sight, Lily let out a deep sigh of relief. Finally, it's over. Then, with a serenity unlike before, Lily began to explain what happened next. Steve should have been dealt with for his betrayal, but he immediately fled. I was injured and unable to speak, and the only other witness, Lily's father, died of weakness before he could reveal Steve's betrayal. But Lily, having heard her father's last words, volunteered to be my guardian in order to pursue Steve. Steve lured you to the massage clinic, probably thinking of securing and disposing of you. Now that you're the only witness left, he planned to eliminate you and erase all evidence, then lie his way back into the special forces. So you suspected Steve from the start? At my question, Lily quietly nodded. I used you as bait to lure Steve out, and by pretending that we were fleeing overseas, we managed to capture the panicked Steve. And Tyler, he was the captain of our unit back then. Knowing I was pursuing the real perpetrator, he entrusted Steve's handling to me. Lily bowed deeply as she finished speaking. I'm sorry for lying to you. The lie about being your fiancé was just as Steve said. Even though it was to catch Steve, I did something terrible to you. I was shaken by the continuous revelations of truth and just stared at Lily's bowed head. At first, I was with you only for the mission, but now, I genuinely love you. It might be hard to believe, but these last few years have been the happiest of my life. As she finished, drops began to fall on the table. Lily was quietly shedding tears without showing her face. Since I regained consciousness, Lily's smile had always been by my side. Seeing my wife's tears for the first time, I took a deep breath. I don't intend to blame you, Lily. David. Lily looked up, her face wet with tears. I regained my trust in others while living with you. I can only be grateful for your protection, not resentful. But, is it really okay? I deceived you. I wrapped my arms around Lily, embracing her. Using my right wrist, I gently patted her thin back to calm her. We may face danger again, but this time, I'll protect you from any harm. From now on, you're my bodyguard. Lily smiled faintly and hugged me back. After that, Steve's whereabouts remained unknown. I asked Lily once, but she just smiled and said, "Don't worry, he'll never come near us again." What happened to Steve afterwards is a mystery, but he probably isn't leading a decent life. Later, Lily reported to the boss that I still had amnesia. I don't know what happened inside the unit, but it seems there has been no reprimand from the boss so far. Now, Lily and I live peacefully, forgetting our special forces past. We finally went on the Philippine trip that had been postponed. My wife and I thoroughly enjoyed our belated honeymoon. Let's always travel together from now on. As the sun set over the tropical sea, Lily smiled happily. I haven't told Lily, but I'm gradually regaining my memory. With the skills honed in my past life, I feel like I can do anything to protect this smile.